So yeah, got a lot to cover today, so let's go ahead and get started. I will introduce myself. I am Carly Tony. I'm the graduate assistant at The Money Spot. I run all things Money Spot, and I do some graduate programming as well. And then I will let our money coach introduce herself, and we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation.
All right. Hey guys. So my name's Jade. I'm a Money Spot coach. I'm a junior at VCU, and I joined the Money Spot because I want to learn more about finances. And I believe it's important once you learn to go back and share it with your community so that they can learn as well. I'm super excited for all of you guys who have joined. So we are going to go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, and if you have any questions during the presentation, you can put them in the chat. You can put them in the Q&A feature, and we'll try to get to them throughout the presentation, and we'll also have some time for questions at the end.
Okay, I'll like pause if there's any questions to each slide. All right, guys. So today we are talking about planning for your financial future, student loan survival, because we know it's crazy out there. Okay, so the real question, why do we attend college? Most of you guys are probably like, because my parents made me. That was me too. But really, we attend college to get a degree, to find a great job, and then to make a lot of good money and to spend that money too and save it as well. That is why we attend college. So for VCU, the in-state tuition is around $14,000. It might have changed because it depends, because tuition increases every year, or just about every year. That's how it feels. And then the out-of-state tuition is around $36,000. So just depending on if you're an in-state student, so if you live in the state of Virginia, then your tuition would be around $14,000, or if it has increased, it'll be whatever it is now. And then if you're an out-of-state student, it'll be about $36,000 and so on.
These numbers are accurate for this year.
Oh, okay. So is it worth it? That's the real question. You guys drop it in the chat if you guys think it's worth it or not. You can say yes, no, whatever. So the answer to that question is yes, it is worth it, because as you can see with this chart, it shows the difference in how much you make if you did have a high school diploma, or if you don't have a high school diploma, or if you did have some type of college degree. So essentially, if you actually did go to college, or you have some type of college degree, you make more than someone who just has a high school diploma or who doesn't have a high school diploma. So yes, going to college is worth it because you make a lot more money if you do go versus if you hadn't gone. So I know sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but it is worth it. That extra degree that you get will give you some extra bucks in the future. Now, the real question is, yeah, it's good to go to college, but how do I afford it? Well, I'm glad that you guys asked, because we're going to explain it to you today. So how you would afford it, your best bet, which is the one that you want to go with first always, is grants and scholarships, because grants and scholarships, as we all know, is free money. And who doesn't like free money? The most that you have to do is write a nice essay, get you some bomb letter of recommendations, and send that bad boy off with a stamp, and then just wait to hear back if you got the scholarship or not. So who doesn't want free money? So your best bet when looking to afford colleges is applying to scholarships, seeing if you qualify for any grants. If you have savings accounts, I know some parents, when they have kids, they open up a savings account and just put money in it. So that way, if the child decides to go to college, they have some money. Or if you're working like me, Money Spot is my work study. So this is how I help fund my tuition. And then your next best bet is going to be federal student loans. The government giving you money so that way you can pay it back soon. That's the best bet, because they'll help you fund your education. And then last, and this is why it says buyer beware, because you need to know what is going on when you decide to use private loans, home equity loans, or credit cards. And we'll get into that a lot more through this session. Any questions so far? Drop it in the chat or the Q&A box.
Does anyone know why we might recommend avoiding the private loans, home equity loans, or credit cards?
Interest. Yeah, really good. Yeah, somebody said interest.
Yep, that's the big thing on private loans and credit cards is interest. Any other reasons that people know of already?
Credibility.
Credibility.
Oh,
Okay.
that's really good. Yeah. You guys are on fire. You guys need to be some money spot coaches too.
And we'll talk a little bit more about why we want to avoid those here in a second.
All righty. So our loan options. So with the federal student loans, you have about 3 different options. You have the direct subsidized loan, which is it does not accrue interest while you're in school because the government pays that interest for you. So you don't have to worry about anything. So if you were to get federal student loans, this is the loan that you want to get the most money in if you can, because you don't have to pay back any interest. Then the next best one, you have the direct unsubsidized, which is it accrues interest while you're in school and the government does not pay it off. So what I recommend people, if you do have an unsubsidized loan like I do, I try to save money throughout the school year. So that way, by the end of the year, I could pay off whatever interest has accrued on that student loan. And then lastly, you have the direct plus loan, which you can use your parents, they are one of the co-signers on that loan where they help you to pay it off. And then you have, which is the one that you kind of want to avoid if you can, but if you can't, that's okay. Just know about it. This is the private loan. So you have your personal loans. So this would be like maybe a Sally Mae outside of, the federal government assisting you with loans, or home equity, and then credit cards. A lot of people sometimes might use credit cards to pay off books, or they might use it to pay off some of their tuition bills. Oh, somebody has a question. They say, oh, will we have to pay back the prepaid interest by the government? Wait, will we have to pay back the prepaid interest
for the subsidized loans?
For the subsidized? No. So you don't, for the subsidized loan, you don't have to pay back the prepaid interest.
Because that's the subsidy that you're getting from the government, is that interest. And so those subsidized loans are also usually based on financial need. And then unsubsidized loans are usually available for everyone, regardless of need.
That was a good question. Yeah. All righty. Now now the real ticker. Why do loans have a bad reputation? I love this slide so much. Loans have a bad reputation because most of the times, or at least for me, my experience was, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I just knew that I needed money because I didn't have enough money to cover school by myself. So I needed some extra help. But a lot of times they get a bad reputation is because we overborrow. So overborrowing is you get approved for a certain amount, you get approved for however much they decide to give you, right? But maybe you don't need that much, but you don't know, like, oh, I don't have to accept all of this money that they're giving me in the loan. I can accept what I need. And then you start accumulating more debt than what you have to. You're over borrowing what you really need. So it's important when you do go and you apply for loans that you know what loan you're getting, you understand what's going on, what is it that you have to do, or what is it they require of you, and you know how much you need, so that way you won't over borrow and then have this big old astronomical debt when you get out of school. And then the other one is private loans. Private loans are just like little monsters, I call them, because they have like these high interest rates, and they have predatory lending practices that you have to watch out for, because if they know you're not sure what's going on, they'll try and, get you and, scam, not scam you out of all this money, but, if you don't understand what you're getting into, you're just going to be accumulating a lot of debt. And so, especially if you take more than what you need. And then also sometimes they will require you to put up your assets as collateral. So just in case, say, if you can't pay that loan or something happens, you might lose what you own. So it's important to know what you're doing when you get into loans. And that's why they have a bad rep. But I'm here to tell you, loans aren't necessarily bad. And I know you guys are probably like, whatever, but it's true.
So when you're borrowing your loans, you want to think about, how am I going to be able to pay this back? And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. And so like we've said, federal loans are your best choice. But if your federal financial aid isn't covering everything, private loans are an option that you can use. Just know to pay good attention to the repayment plan, especially because often private loans are a lot less flexible in the repayment plans than your federal loans will be. So in addition, you likely won't get deferment on them in the same way that you sometimes can for federal loans. Like if you think about right now, during the coronavirus pandemic, the government has put all federal loans in deferment. The same thing is not necessarily happening with private loans. And then we talk about assets as collateral. That's when we're talking about like a home equity loan or a car loan, which would require you to put up your house or your car as collateral. And then if you can't pay it back, then the lender takes that asset from you. So you want to avoid things like that because you don't want to be losing property based on loan repayment, especially when there are other options available to you.
Yes, someone said debt is also a leverage tool, which is very true.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. All righty, so federal loans. So we have the direct subsidized, which we talked about a little bit, which is need-based. This doesn't accrue interest while you're in school, and the amount that you borrow, it cannot exceed your financial need. And then with the direct unsubsidized, this does accrue interest. So it's best if you have a little bit of money or you have some extra money, you can just pay a little bit on it. So that way it won't be this big old debt and it won't be all this interest accrued on top. And financial need is not required. So that's what Carly was talking about earlier, how it's not financial need based. You can use this without having to have some type of financial need. And then you have the direct plus loans, which are loans for grad students and also parents of undergrad students. And the maximum amount is the cost of attendance less any aid. So basically, if you need another loan, your parents can help you with this, and they can co-sign for you and help pay back that loan. So that way you can continue your education. Now, before accepting loans, check what loans you've already taken and use a repayment estimator. So we're going to show you guys how to do that.
Yeah, so I will tell you that, actually, hold on. We've got one more slide for you that I'll go through real quick. So in a second here, we're going to take a look at the federal loan repayment calculator that you can use to get an estimate on what your loan repayment is going to be like after you graduate. Because, when we take out our loans, we take them out for a 10-year period of time. And that's a really long time. Most of us start taking out loans when we're about 18. So that's more than half of our life at that point. So it's kind of hard to imagine what 10 years looks like. And when we take out that large lump sum, it feels really, really daunting to be able to pay it back. So in this presentation, I hope that we can break it down a little bit for you, make you feel a little bit better about your payment plan, and give you some tools that you can use for your personal finances. So there are 8 federal loan repayment plans currently. And depending on what year you are, by the time you graduate, there may be more. This kind of changes with the federal administration. So you want to keep an eye on that as things are changing. And as you're getting closer to graduation, what your options are. So we'll look at this a little more closely when we go into the loan simulator, but just an overview of few of the plans. The standard plan is the one that everyone starts out on. 6 months after you graduate, you'll be expected to begin payments on your federal loans. And so the standard repayment plan just takes what you have, splits it into 120 monthly payments, so that's 10 years, and asks you to pay that over time. So this is generally going to be your fastest payoff plan and the least interest paid over time plan, okay? But at any time, you can change your plan to something that works a little bit better for your lifestyle. So another option that's great for students just coming out of college is a graduated repayment plan. And we'll look at a graph of this. The idea here is that your payments go up by about $200 every year, every 2 years. We'll look at the graph together. Because the idea is that you will be making more by the end of your loan repayment than you are right after you graduate. So this will result in a little bit of more interest paid over time, but your monthly payments will be lower and more matched to your income. The next one is the extended repayment plan. And I think the revised pay-as-you-earn extended plan, these, if you are in financial hardship, you can extend your loan repayment plan to 25 years if necessary. I know that's something that we probably don't want to think about doing, but it is an option that's there for you if you need it. And then the last one I want to talk about is income-based plans or income contingent plans. So basically these set a limit of your discretionary income, usually 10 to 15%. And that is what you will pay on your loan repayment, your monthly payment. So that can be helpful too for when you're just coming out of college. You're likely going to be making more later than you are now. Again, it'll result in slightly higher interest paid over time, but lower loan payments monthly. So considering your situation and what makes most sense for you financially. So now we're going to go into this loan simulator that I've been talking so much about. So we are going to go to.
We have a question.
Yes.
Someone asked, are these for unsubsidized loans?
Yes, these are for both loans because your subsidized loans, they don't accrue interest while you are in school, but after that 6-month grace period, they'll be accruing interest at the interest rate that's set, just the same as your subsidized. Well, did I say that backwards? Your subsidized loans are not accruing interest while you're in school, but will when you're done. Your unsubsidized loans are accruing interest as soon as you take them out and will continue to after you're done. So this simulator is only for federal loans though. So keep that in mind. Your private loan servicer is going to have a separate way to set this up. So we're going to go to studentaid.gov/loan simulator. And there's a couple of options that we have here. Today, we're going to look through, I want to find the best repayment strategy. But sometime in the future, you may want to look at, I'm struggling with my payments. If you are struggling with your payments and you need to decide if it's a good idea for you to put your loans in deferment for a bit, or simulating borrowing more money. So this could be for another year of school, or if you're thinking about graduate school in the future, what it might look like to borrow some more money than you have now.
We have another question for you.
Yes.
Someone asked, the interest rate is adjusted according to the market or is it fixed?
It's usually fixed based on what you took out from your financial aid letter. So it does change from year to year. So like right now, taking out loans, interest rates are crazy low because of the pandemic. And you'll be able to see that when you log into your loan servicer repayment. So that brings me to this tool can be really helpful for you to use on your own if you can log into your federal loan servicer and actually look at your numbers. So today we're just going to use the baseline VCU numbers to show you how this works. But it's super useful to go in and look at your own numbers as well. So we're just going to say start from scratch. We'll say we have a job or we plan to get one in soon when we graduate. And we'll say we file taxes in the last 2 years because that'll show us our best options. And we'll say we're single. Right now we're living in Virginia. And then it'll ask your yearly salary. And so if you have kind of an estimated salary of what you think your career is going to look like, you can put that in there. Otherwise, we are just going to use the median salary for folks 6 years after they've graduated from VCU with a bachelor's degree. You can also put a field of study in here if you want to get an estimate on your specific major. So we'll use this. And then how much you expect your income to grow. It's likely you're not going to know that, but generally 5% is a good estimate. And then again, with loan balance, we can use the national data, we can use the VCU data, or you can enter your own. If you, that's my name. If you've logged in to the loan simulator, then your loan numbers will come up, both subsidized and unsubsidized. All the loans that you have will show up there with their interest rates. So you can see here, the average loan balance for a VCU student, $23,500 with a 3.9% average interest rate. Okay, and then I'll ask us if we're interested in public service loan forgiveness. So this is if you are looking to go into any kind of public service field, which might be education, government, nonprofit, some healthcare. This requires you to pay 10 years of your loans on a qualified plan, usually income-based. And then after that 10 years, whatever's left, if you've been working for 10 years at a qualified employer, will be forgiven. And so if you have specific questions about that, I'm here to answer them. You can also make an appointment with one of our coaches who can talk you a little bit through your specific situation. But right now we're going to say, no, we're not interested in public service loan forgiveness. And then we're going to think about our primary repayment goal. And let's say we're looking to have a low monthly payment. So we can look at our results here. And it shows us that for the lowest monthly payment, the graduated repayment plan is going to give us our lowest payment. So we can see here it starts at 132, ends with 397, but it's telling us, hey, the total you're paying off over time is kind of high. So we can look at the details of this. And this is kind of what I was talking about, showing you that this is the one where your payments increase by about $200 every, or no, not even that much, but they increase every year a little bit more over the life of your loan. And it's still that 10-year repayment plan. And it also shows you here, think about some advantages of this plan, some disadvantages of this plan. And then if you're logged in, you can go ahead and apply for it. So let's take a look at some of the other plans. This is our standard repayment plan that we were talking about before. So this would put our monthly payment about $237. And if we compare that to our graduated repayment plan, it's about midway through what we would be paying for that. So it may make sense for us to start out on a graduated plan. And then as our payments get higher, to switch back to that standard plan so we can get the lower rate. And then we see the revised pay as you earn. That's discretionary income, 10% of that. And also what you want to be on if you're thinking about public service loan forgiveness. And another income contingent repayment plan, 20% of your income. So this is the options it's showing us available. And it also shows us when we can pay them off and how much we're likely going to be paid total, as well as thinking about our monthly payments. So when we looked at that first number, that was in the, I think 27.5 was it? Or no, maybe less than that. Yeah, I think somewhere in there. That looked like a lot, but maybe $200 a month once we've got a good paying job seems a little bit more manageable. Remembering too that your student loan bill is usually your second highest one after rent. So keeping that in mind as we're planning our budgets for the future. Any questions about this loan simulator, loan repayment plans? Great. Okay, we are going to get back into the presentation then. And I'll be sure to put the link to that in the chat as well so that you have it.
Oh, someone asked, great. If the students have questions regarding the calculation mechanism, where should they contact?
I'm not sure that I'm understanding the question.
I think maybe like how such as if they want to negotiate. I get
I'm not sure about that. I'm guessing that negotiating with the federal government, yeah, is probably not going to be an option. But that's why there's so many different plans to think about. That's kind of where your negotiation is on the plans and income based. You can try to negotiate with private lenders. Again, kind of iffy if you already owe them money and they kind of have the power there. And then I've got another question here. Are there payoff penalties? That's a great question. No, there are not. I will say that if you are interested in public service loan forgiveness, it's not necessarily your best interest to pay it off faster because then there's nothing to be forgiven. But if you're just trying to get your loans paid off as fast as you can, that's also an option. One way to think about doing that is taking your monthly payment, splitting it in half, and then adding an extra half onto that. And there's also actually, let me pull that back up because there's also a now I can't remember where it is, but there's a part of this loan simulator as well where you can say simulate paying more. So like, let's say you wanted to be on the standard plan and you were like, okay, instead of 237, I want to pay an even 300.
You have to go back.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you just go back and it should have been
like there we go. Yeah. Let's say hold on. We'll say fastest payoff because that'll give us the standard plan. No. Okay, it's not showing me what I wanted to. Here it is. Want to pay off your loans faster? You can simulate this. And so, okay, if I pay an extra, let's say $79 a month, then it'll show us we're paying it off about 3 months faster. Or if we said, okay, let's pay an extra $170 a month.
Yeah. Someone asked, what is the average debt for an undergraduate graduate?
Yeah, so the number that we had seen before at VCU, I believe, was
$2,500.
$27,500. And this is like all students over time at VCU. So some may be lower, some may be higher, but that's about the average here. Okay, great questions. Anything else before we move on into repaying our loans faster? There we go.
All righty. So how can I repay my loans faster? So you have about 4 different ways you can. First one, or it doesn't matter however you want to do it, but the 10% rule. So experts recommend that you borrow student loans so that your monthly payments will not exceed 10% of your earnings. So I kind of like to call this like my tithing thing, because like say if you're like religious or whatever, you tithe like 10% of what you make towards it. So that's kind of how I think about it. Or you have extra payments, which Carly talked about. You could put more money on your payment versus you don't have to just pay the minimum. I guess you could say it like that. You could put extra money on it. So say if you get like a bonus or you get some extra money flowing and you're like, hey, I want to throw this towards my student loans so I can pay it off quicker. That's the way you can do it. Or you can divide your monthly payment by 12 and then pay that much extra each month. And this can save you time and interest. And we all want to save us time in interest. We don't want to have to pay extra money if we don't have to. So that's a way. Repayment plans, you have the different repayment plans that you can utilize to see or to help you. You have some that the standard, which will save you the most interest because you're paying a lot more, while the income driven and the income base will give you lower monthly payments. So you'll pay a little bit more interest in it, but it'll help you to be able to pay on time and consistently. And then you have start early. So that's what you guys are doing, basically coming here, learning this information, and then you can apply it to your life, to your student loans. If the loan is accruing interest, start your payments before the grace period ends. And that's what me and Carly were talking about. So once you graduate from college or undergrad, you have this 6 month grace period before you have to start repaying back your student loans. So you could start saving money. You know, if you got to babysit, if you got to cut grass, if you get a job somewhere, whatever, and you start putting money to the side. So that way, when it comes time to actually start paying on that loan, you'll already have money saved up and it won't be such a burden, or it won't seem stressful. So those are just some ways that you can repay your loans back faster. Can you guys think of any other ways possibly that might not have been mentioned in this slide?
So somebody asked, if I have an unsubsidized loan and interest starts when I take it out, how would I estimate my monthly payment? I don't understand that aspect. The simulator seems for after. So yes, it is for after, because you don't have to start paying on your loans until after you graduate. What you can do to figure out the interest that's accruing, because that's what you might want to think about paying while you're in school. You'll look at your loan balance and take the interest percentage of that that's accruing monthly, and pay that or set that aside to pay.
Yeah, so for me, I my loans are with Nelnet. So I'll go log into Nelnet and it'll show me like the percentage of how much interest, or the percentage of what they charge me for interest, and then it'll show like, oh, you have $96.80 on this unsubsidized loan worth of interest. So you could also look on your loan servicer to see, and then try and calculate.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. And so it says, okay, so interest accrues, but I don't have to pay until 6 months after still. Correct. So that interest is just added to what you're paying in the end. And I will say too, that during that 6 month grace period, you can be making payments on those loans, because the more you lower the principal, the less interest you're going to have to pay as well, because the interest is calculated from the principal loan that you have. So the longer you have it, the more interest accrues, generally. So you can start paying it early if you're able to, and have that be a way to lower that sum. But interest will still be accruing on those loans during that 6 month period, but you're not required to make any payments on your federal loans until you are out of school for 6 months. So hopefully this means graduation. But if you're taking a break for any reason, or taking a gap year in between years, or in between undergrad and graduate school, if you're out of school for 6 months, then those loan payments will be expected.
A quick question, say if, you said that you can pay it early, even though you don't have to during that 6 months grace period, what if maybe your loan servicer is like, nah, you got to wait until the time's up to pay it? Can you save that money and then just put it, towards the loan when it is time to start paying? I don't know if that makes sense.
Sure, but your federal loans, you will not be expected to pay until 6 months afterwards. If you have private loans, you want to make sure that you are in contact with your lender before you graduate, and that you know when those loans are expected to be paid off and how.
Okay. All right, this is the good stuff, guys. So this is our free application for federal student aid, known as the FAFSA, or FAFSA. I always say it wrong, but it's okay. So what you will do is you'll visit studentaid.ed.gov. The FAFSA opens in the beginning of October 1st. So what I always tell my peers is, as soon during the month of September, if you can, gather the information. If you're a dependent, meaning that your parents claim you on their taxes, or if you're independent, meaning that your parents don't, you just doing your own thing, you got it, to gather all your information as much as you can. And when October 1st hits, during that day, to apply right then and there. Like, it literally takes nothing but maybe 30 minutes to apply. And so there's tutorials that will help you. And there's also an app, My Student Aid app, on the mobile devices that you can use. And then the second thing is, which I just said, which is gather information. So your latest tax returns, figuring out if you're a dependent, meaning that your parents claim you on their taxes, or you're an independent, you're not claimed by anybody else. What is your family's total income? And this will help if you can get your parents' tax information as well. And then what is your estimated cost for 1 year? Then the next thing that you'll do is know your resources. So here at VCU, you have VCU Financial Aid, you have the finaid.vcu.edu, and then you have the VCU Financial Aid TV.com. And they can help you apply for your FAFSA, help you figure out some information that you need, or guide you to where you need to go so that you can get that information. And last but not least, early is best. So we say that because VCU has a deadline where it's like, first come, first serve. So the priority filling dates by the schools vary. VCU's is March 1st.
It's actually February 1st.
February
this
1st
is outdated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So
it changed fairly recently.
Okay. Yes. So October 1st is when you can apply, and then February 1st is the first come, first serve, basically, for VCU, February 1st. And so we say to have it done in October, so that way you can be one of those first come, first serve. So you get a better chance of grants, scholarships that might be open, or different types of federal aid that they may have to offer. And it gives you more time to identify funding sources. So say if you apply in October 1st and you've been doing scholarships and stuff, or whatever, anything out there that you can do where you can get free money. You've been doing scholarships, and you get all these emails where people are saying, hey, you've got this scholarship. Now you can see how much money you have in scholarship, and then see how much money financial aid is willing to give you, or saying that we can give you, and you can compare and be like, okay, I don't need this much money, so that way I won't overborrow with my loans because I got scholarships to cover the other half of tuition and stuff. So that's why we say it's best to apply early, and so that you can be that first come, first serve and get all the good stuff, which is money.
And this is thinking about grants too. This first come, first serve idea. That's why you want to try to get in October 1st, because that's how you're gonna be more likely to get grant money. If you apply after the priority deadline, you will still get your federal loans that you need, unsubsidized. But you are unlikely to get any grant money if you file after that priority deadline.
Somebody asked, what range does FAFSA cover? If I apply in October 2021, what semester does that cover? Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. It covers so it would cover 2021, 2022, right? So it will cover that fall. Okay, so if you apply in 2021, it's going to cover fall of 2021. Wait. Yeah, 2022. I'm confused because you'd applied. Oh, sorry, just kidding. It's going to cover fall of 2022. I was thinking that.
Yes, so you apply for the FAFSA when you were in school. You apply for the FAFSA for the next year.
Yeah.
And it'll ask you about your tax information from the previous year. So it is a little convoluted with time. So if you apply in October 2021, that will cover fall 2022 and spring 2023.
Yeah. And someone asked on the Q&A, do you all know if the current 0% interest will apply to federal loans taken out for fall 2021?
I'm not sure about that. I think that the federal provisions by the new CARES Act end September 2021, I believe is what I've read. But that's something that you're just gonna want to keep an eye on in the news. Forbes.com is a good resource usually for like financial news kinds of things. That's pretty readable in like non-financial person terms. let's see, I got a question. Which option is better for international students? There are some limitations for federal loans. Yes, and there is federal aid available for international students. The process is a lot more difficult. And so what I would recommend to you is to speak with your financial aid counselor about your specific situation and what would be kind of the best option based on your situation now, what you're planning to do in the future, that kind of thing. So each one of us at VCU has a financial aid counselor assigned to us. And just like you can make appointments with the Money Spot, you can also make appointments with them on Navigate. And on student loan kinds of things, we work pretty closely with financial aid because they can look at your specific information, your account, how much you owe VCU, that kind of thing. So they can give you the more specifics, and we can work with you on kind of the future repayment plan, the information piece, and kind of like budgeting for that in the future, those kinds of things. So we do a lot of referrals back and forth. How do I know who was my financial advisor? Great question. So what you're going to want to do is log into Navigate and look at your profile. And Jade, tell me if this looks different as an undergraduate, but how I see it is I see my classes, my professors, and then I look over to kind of the right pane, and there's a window that's got my advisor in it, yep. And then also my financial counselor, and I can use that to schedule an appointment with her.
Yes, it's the same. It's the same. So you just go and Navigate. Someone asked, who should I contact at VCU regarding Fin Counselor Depart? Oh, okay. So you just answered that, right? No.
Yes, I think.
Okay.
Okay, good. And then let's see. Lots of questions. I'm loving it.
Great.
Yes, Navigate should help. Navigate's a great resource, really for most of the kinds of appointments that you need to make. We've just moved over to using Navigate for our appointment scheduling this year, and it's been super helpful.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're coming to the end of our presentation here. What other questions can we answer for you today?
Oh, someone has one. Are you able to speak on loans and credit score?
Absolutely. Jade, do you want to talk a little bit about how we can talk about loans and credit score?
Yes. So if you want to know more about loans and credit score, if you make an appointment with us on Navigate with one of our wonderful, fabulous Money Spot coaches, we can sit down virtually peer-to-peer, and we can discuss about credit scores or applying for credit, like a credit card or things like that. And then also we can talk about like the different loans and different avenues, give you some resources like scholarship links or, different places that you can look for. So yes, all you gotta do is go on Navigate, just like you would schedule a regular appointment, and then you would click a VCU Money Spot, and you could just pick from the different coaches that you see and schedule an appointment with us.
Jade, what else can the Money Spot help me with?
Wow, the Money Spot can help you with creating savings goals, budgeting. We have a great cash flow worksheet that we can help you sort through all your things so that you can, stay on track and budget your money. We can also help you with credit cards. So anything about credit cards, credit score, we can talk to you about understanding those. What else do we offer? Such a plethora, a variety of things. Oh, we can also help you with your, it's something else. It's coming to me.
Can you help me with paying down my debts?
Yes, we can. We can help you with paying down your debt, finding ways and creating plans to do that. And also your net worth as well. We talk about that too.
So somebody had asked in the chat, how can we have access to this presentation later? In just a minute here, I'll start sharing my screen so I can grab the link to our YouTube page, and I'll put that here, and that's where you'll be able to find this presentation once I get it edited, probably next week. And then here's a great question. Is the service available to alumni too? Yes, so we have alumni coaching available. And so when you graduate, alumni coaching is still available. And I will put that in the chat too. That'll be through our Financial Success Center rather than the Money Spot. The Money Spot is primarily for our undergraduates, but they definitely do some graduate coaching as well. But if you are looking for resources as an alumni, you can contact finsuccess@vcu.edu. And then you also see here our MoneySpot website. You can go there to check out our upcoming webinars. We've got another one coming up during finals about making large purchases. And we've got some exciting ones planned for next fall and the summer, and hopefully we'll be able to start doing some in-person kinds of events too that we'll be able to see you at. If you've got other questions after this presentation, you can email themoneyspot@vcu.edu. Like Jade said, you can make appointments on Navigate, and also follow us on Instagram at themoneyspot. That'll give you some updates on our events and also some financial tips. We'll remind you to do the FAFSA in October if you're following us on Instagram. So give that a look as well. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can grab that YouTube link for you. And I also promised the loan simulator link, so I'm going to give you that as well. And I'll put that at the bottom of the YouTube video for when you're looking at it later. So here's a loan simulator, and it's a link to our YouTube channel that's got all of the webinars from this year up on it that you can also take a look at. So thank you so much for all of your questions. If you came in late, the YouTube's in there and you'll be able to check out the rest of it. I hope that you enjoyed it and it was informative. We'll stick around for more questions, but otherwise have a great rest of your day. And I want to remind TRIO students, if you'd put your name in the chat, I can pass that along to the folks at TRIO and get you your incentives for that.
Oh, somebody said.
For incoming freshmen, when would we apply or accept our federal loans from FAFSA after our bill comes from VCU? Yes, so it's been a long time since I did that. And I remember applying for the FAFSA around January. And then, yes, once you receive your bill from VCU, then you can also look at your aid letter. And I will give you, I'll give you another really good resource for looking at financial aid and like comparing financial aid and planning for especially that first year of college from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Let me find that for you. It's your financial path to graduation. So this is, nope, that's the YouTube link again. Okay. This is what I want to give you. This can help you think about where you're getting funding sources, comparing financial aid packages, if that's something that you're still doing. But we also hope that you choose VCU if that's something you're still doing. But anything else? I want to make sure that we get everybody's questions answered as best we can, or get you some resources that can answer them for you. Great. Well, if you have any other questions, I'll put our email in the chat as well, moneyspot@vcu.edu. Otherwise, thank you for coming and thank you for staying engaged, and have a great rest of your Thursday.